The day they heard about Hiroshima, August 6, 1945. It began like any other quiet summer day at Farm Hall, a sprawling countryside estate in England. But this farm wasn't what it appeared to be. Hidden behind its ivy-covered walls was one of the most secret intelligence operations of the war. A prison for 10 of Nazi Germany's top scientists, the very men who had built Hitler's nuclear research program. They believed they were simply being held until the war officially ended. What they didn't know was that every single room in Farm Hall was bugged. Microphones hidden inside lamps, behind walls, even under furniture, recording every word they spoke. The British called it Operation Epsilon. That evening, a British officer entered the drawing room holding a small piece of paper. He cleared his throat and read a brief announcement. The United States has just dropped a single bomb on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. The entire city has been destroyed. The room fell silent. At first, the German scientists thought it was a joke. Allied propaganda meant to demoralize them. But within minutes, the truth began to sink in. What the microphones captured next would stun Allied intelligence officers and reveal why Nazi Germany never stood a chance. The disbelief Werner. Heisenberg, Germany's leading physicist and head of Hitler's atomic project, was the first to speak. "That's impossible," he said sharply. "The Americans don't have the capability." Otto Hahn, the man who had discovered nuclear fission itself, looked pale. He muttered, "If it's true, then it's my discovery that killed hundreds of thousands." He stood up, shaking, and walked toward his room. Some of his colleagues feared he might harm himself. Meanwhile, the others debated furiously. Some insisted it was a lie, a psychological trick by the British to humiliate them. But then, the officer gave them details: the bomb's estimated yield, the blast radius, the radiation. Every number aligned perfectly with the theoretical calculations they themselves had made years earlier. Heisenberg grabbed a pencil and a piece of paper. His hand moved frantically as he began scribbling equations, his mind racing. The other scientists watched in silence. After several tense minutes, he stopped writing. He looked up slowly. "It's real," he whispered. "They actually did it." The room erupted. Voices clashed. Questions flew, anger mixed with awe. How had America beaten them? Germany had started first, had the finest scientists. Yet somehow they had failed. The blame game as the night deepened. Frustration turned into arguments. Karl Friedrich von Weizsäcker blamed the Nazi leadership. "They never gave us proper funding," he said bitterly. "We were expected to build miracles with scraps." Kurt Diebner disagreed. "No, we had money. We had materials. We just took the wrong path." Heisenberg defended himself. "We focused on reactors because we wanted energy, not weapons." But the others didn't believe him. The recordings captured the tension in their voices, a mix of guilt, shame, and relief. Some were secretly thankful they hadn't succeeded. Others felt humiliated. Paul Hartek finally said what everyone was thinking: "We were simply behind. The Americans were better organized. We have to accept that." Those words cut deep. For the first time, Germany's brightest minds confronted a truth they had long ignored. They had been outmatched not by genius, but by power, planning, and scale. The technical revelation: Heisenberg stayed up all night, recalculating. By dawn, he had reconstructed the basic design of the American bomb from memory. "The principle is simple," he explained to the others. "They must have used uranium-235 or plutonium-239. To separate uranium-235, you need enormous industrial plants, massive diffusion facilities." The others stared at him in disbelief. They knew their own efforts had failed precisely because they lacked that capacity. Heisenberg sighed. "They built factories the size of entire cities. We worked in basements." The contrast was humiliating. America had mobilized more than 130,000 workers for the Manhattan Project, with an investment exceeding $2 billion. Germany's nuclear program had barely 100 scientists and a fraction of that funding. It wasn't intelligence that had won the war. It was industrial power. The general's revelation at Farm Hall, it wasn't just scientists under surveillance. 3 senior German generals were also imprisoned there, listening silently as the scientists argued. Finally, one of them, General Erich von Stein, spoke. His voice was calm but carried a chilling clarity. "Gentlemen, you're missing the point," he said. "This bomb doesn't just end the war in Japan. It ends the idea of war itself." The scientists turned toward him. "Whoever possesses this weapon," von Stein continued, "controls the world. No more trenches, no more tank battles, just fear, threats, and power." The room went quiet again. Nobody had thought about it that way before. They had been lost in equations and physics, but von Stein saw the larger truth, the dawn of a new world order. "America now has more power than every empire in history combined," he said quietly. "Germany could never have won." His words hung in the air like a death sentence. Why Germany lost the race? Von Stein leaned forward. "Even if we had built the bomb first, it wouldn't have mattered," he said. He began listing the brutal realities. "America has 130 million people. We have 70 million. They have oceans to protect them. We are surrounded by enemies. They have resources we could never match: oil, steel, manpower, money." The scientists nodded grimly. It was true. To build an atomic bomb, you didn't just need brains. You needed security, time, and unimaginable resources. America had all 3. Germany had none. While Heisenberg's team struggled with shortages and Allied bombings, the United States quietly built entire secret cities like Oak Ridge and Los Alamos, dedicated solely to splitting the atom. "We never stood a chance," one of the scientists finally admitted. Von Stein nodded. The war was lost long before the bomb, not on the battlefield, but in the laboratories, the factories, and the minds of men. Hitler's fatal mistake. As the shock faded, the conversation turned to Hitler himself. What had he known about the potential of nuclear weapons? Heisenberg revealed that he had met the Führer in 1942. He tried to explain the concept, the unimaginable power of atomic energy. "How long would it take?" Hitler asked. "At least 3 years," Heisenberg replied. Hitler waved his hand. "Too long. I need weapons now." He wanted rockets, tanks, jets, things that could be built fast, things that looked powerful. He had no patience for theoretical science. Another scientist spoke bitterly. He thought nuclear physics was Jewish science. The Nazis had driven away the very minds who could have made the bomb possible. Albert Einstein, Niels Bohr, Leo Szilard, all Jewish, all forced to flee. And where did they go? To America. "We gave them our greatest weapon," one scientist said quietly. "Our own hatred built their bomb." The irony was devastating. Hitler's racism, arrogance, and ignorance had destroyed Germany's only chance at nuclear success. "He destroyed us," Heisenberg said. "Not through defeat, but through stupidity." The final truth as night fell over Farm Hall. A grim understanding settled in. The microphones captured one final conversation. Quieter, more reflective. Von Stein spoke again. "Even if we had built the bomb, we couldn't have used it. By the time it was ready, Germany would already be ashes." Heisenberg nodded slowly. "Our war ended the moment we chose dictatorship over reason." Another voice added, "America won because it believed in freedom, in ideas, in science, in people. We chained all 3. Silence filled the room. The scientists realized that their failure wasn't just technological. It was moral. The Nazi regime had suffocated innovation under ideology. While America gathered the world's brightest minds, Germany executed or exiled them. Now, von Stein said softly, we live in America's world, and we can only pray they use this power wisely. Moments later, the hidden microphones clicked off. British intelligence had everything they needed, not just proof of Germany's failed nuclear ambitions, but a haunting psychological portrait of a defeated nation. In those secret recordings, Hitler's scientists and generals confessed the truth. They hadn't merely lost the war, they had lost the future. Epilogue: Hitler never lived to hear the name Hiroshima. He died in his bunker months before the bomb fell. But his arrogance echoed through Farm Hall. His generals and scientists, once the brightest stars of the Reich, finally understood that their greatest enemy had not been America, or the Allies, or even time. It had been Hitler himself. The man who dreamed of a 1,000-year Reich destroyed it in 12. The man who wanted ultimate power blinded himself to the very science that could have given it to him. And so, on a quiet summer evening in 1945, in a bugged British mansion, the architects of Hitler's war realized the cruelest truth of all. Germany never lost the atomic race. It never even ran it.